This is a story about Ralia, the sugar girl. Ralia is missing from home under mysterious and unfortunate circumstances. Thereafter, she goes through ordeals, one after the other. First in the hands of a wicked witch, and then a hunter. Will she survive these ordeals and return home? And under what circumstances? Let's go ahead and watch this story.
Ralia! Ralia! Ralia!
Her mother called.
Come home, Ralia! I need you! Come home!
She shouted again and again, but Ralia was playing with her friends on the sand in the village center. She did not hear her mother. Again, her mother shouted from the door of the hut.
Ralia!
This time, Ralia heard. She knew her mother's voice. She loved her mother and she obeyed her like a good girl. Ralia was a little girl of 9. She was very skinny, but she had a fine face and a nice voice. She sang beautifully and everyone loved to hear her sing. Whatever she was doing, she was always singing. She did not go to school because her parents were poor, but she knew the right things to do. She was also a kind girl and she had a smile for everyone. For these reasons, all the villagers loved her and called her Sugar Girl. Ralia lived with her mother and father in a hut at the edge of the bush in the village of Apampa. She was the only child of her parents. Her mother was blind. She had lost the use of her eyes when she was ill with smallpox, a year after Ralia was born. At first, it was not easy for Ralia's mother to move about or to cook the meals without seeing what she had to do. Ralia's father was a farmer. He was strong and kind. When his wife became blind, he did everything he could to make her happy. He fetched water from the stream. He bought firewood from his farm. He went to the market to buy things. When Ralia grew up and was able to do a few things, she started to help her mother. She did the cooking for her. She fetched water from the stream for her. She helped her to grind pepper. Everything her mother wanted, Ralia did for her. Ralia's mother was pleased with her. Her father was pleased with her too. They were a happy family because Ralia was a good girl, and because she had no one to play with at home, her father bought her a dog. She named the dog Wara. She loved her dog and her dog loved her. She cared for her dog like a sister. They slept together and played together. Everywhere that Ralia went, her dog went too. Everything she ate, her dog ate too. She spoke to her dog and her dog understood her. One day, Ralia was alone in the bush. She was afraid. She called out for help. She had a small voice. Her voice was not good for shouting. It was only good for singing. Again and again, she shouted, hoping that someone would hear her call. No one heard. No one came. She threw herself on the ground and wept. She pulled at her hair and kicked one foot against the other. She sat up, stood up, and again threw herself to the ground. The bush scratched her body and blood flowed from the scratches. Ralia thought of her father and mother. She thought of her dog Wara. What would they do when she did not go home? Her mother was blind. Her father had hurt his back. Her dog had a bad foot and could not walk. Therefore, no one would look for her. She thought to herself, where would she sleep tonight? All sorts of insects might bite her. She might be bitten by a snake. The wild animals might kill her. She might die, and no one would know where she was. It was getting dark. Once again, Ralia got up and tried to find her way. She threw her hands on her head, and she went. She wept. She did not know where she was going. She just went on. After some time, she saw smoke rising from somewhere in front of her. She stopped crying and wiped the tears from her eyes. She ran towards the spot from where the smoke was rising. Soon, she came to an open space. In front of her was a little thatched hut. The smoke was coming out of this hut. Ralia knew that someone must be living there. The door of the hut was open. Ralia went quietly to the door and peeped in. It was very dark inside. All she saw was a fire burning with a pot on it. She heard someone shout from somewhere behind her. "What do you want here?" Ralia shook with fear. She turned around and saw an old woman. who was carrying a bundle of firewood on her shoulder. She was very old. She was bent. Her hair was gray and dirty. She was very thin. Her eyes were red and her fingernails were very long. She only had 2 teeth in her mouth. "What do you want here?" asked the old woman again. "I'm only a little girl. Do not hurt me," cried Ralia. "My mother is blind. My brother has hurt his back. My dog is lame." "Are you looking for your blind mother or your lame dog here? How did you find your way here?" the old woman asked unkindly. "I didn't mean to come here. I lost my way in the bush. Can you help me find my way back home?" answered Ralia. The old woman gave a wicked laugh. "I don't help people. I don't even want to see them. I like to harm them. Don't look for help here. I may even kill you tonight," said the old woman. "What are you? Are you a witch? Please don't hit me. I'm a little girl. Let me go back to my blind mother." Ralia was in tears. "Who tells you I'm a witch?" "Oh yes, I'm a witch. You see my long nails? They will dig out your eyes. You see my teeth? They will suck out your blood." Ralia almost fell trying to run. She knelt down and begged the witch not to harm her, but the witch did not listen. "Be quiet or else I will hit you on the head with this," she shouted. She held a long piece of bone in her hand. Ralia thought the bone looked like a child's leg bone. Ralia was afraid. She ran out of the hut. Before she had gone a few meters, the old woman caught her by the arm. "Please, in the name of God, let me go. If you will not let me go, don't kill me. I'll be your servant," begged Ralia. The old woman pulled Ralia into the hut and threw her down on the ground. Ralia did not get up. She just lay there. She was sad and tired. Then Ralia remembered a song which she used to sing at home. She sang, not because she was happy, but because she was sad. As she sang, tears flooded her eyes. "If you go to the river, don't swim. It can carry you away. If you go to the market, don't throw a stone. It can hit your mother. If you go on a journey, don't forget home. Those at home will be waiting. If you go to the bush, keep your eyes open. It's easy to lose your way. If you don't know where you are going, you should know where you are coming from." Because Ralia was weeping at the same time, her voice was not very clean. But the old woman listened. She had never heard such a sweet voice like that before. She left what she was doing and came to where Ralia was lying. Ralia did not even see her. She just kept singing her song again and again. The old woman knelt down beside Ralia. What a pleasing voice she has got, the old woman thought. It would be wrong to do her any harm. I would keep her with me so that she can sing to me all the time. The old woman lifted Ralia up and wiped tears from her face. Ralia was surprised. She did not understand. How can this wicked woman do this, she thought. But the old woman patted her on the head. "Have no fear, my child," she said. "I will not harm you. You are like an angel. You will live with me as my child." Ralia did not know whether to be sad or happy. She did not wish to be the child of this ugly and dirty old woman alone in the bush. She wanted to go back to her mother, but she was happy to know that no harm would come to her. The old woman went on talking. "I feel like a mother again. I should tell you my story and you will know how I came to live here for a long time ago. I was not always bad. I was married like other women. I was very pretty when I was young." She stopped. "You don't believe that I was pretty. I can see it in your face." She began as if she knew Ralia's thoughts. "I was pretty. Sadness and a hard life have made me old and ugly, but I'm not as old as I look. I had 7 children and I lived with my husband in the village of Abamba. I know you come from a pampa, and that is why I did not like you at first. In less than 3 years, all my 7 children died. My husband ran away from me. While he was running away, he was killed by lightning. Soon after, all the village people came to my house. Men and women, young and old. They carried sticks and stones. They said that I was a witch and that I killed my children and husband. They drove me out of the house and out of the village. They threw stones and sticks. I was badly hurt. I do not know why I did not die, but I was very ill for a long time. I had nowhere to go and I was alone. I lived in the shade of the big tree before I built this hut. Every day, morning and night, I wept. I wanted to die, but death did not come. I have lived here since then in the sun and the rain. I have suffered very much. Because of all of this, I hate everyone from Apampa. I want to kill all of them in that village if I can. The old woman's voice was very angry. I set traps, which catch all sorts of animals and birds. You can see their bones in that corner. I have lived there all alone and I have spoken to very few people since then. I do a bit of farming. That is how I get my food to eat. Once in a while, I go to the market. It is a long walk from here. In the market, I buy all the things I cannot get from my farm. I do have visitors. The only person who comes here is the wife of a farmer whose hut is not very far away. She comes in when she pleases, sometimes during the day, sometimes at night, but I won't go to their huts. The old woman stopped talking for a while. Then she continued. That is my story, my child. I have no fear, because no harm will come to you. Let me get you something to eat. You must be tired and hungry. The old woman stood up and went to the fireside. She made up the fire again and began cooking. Ralia watched and wondered what the old woman was cooking. Maybe it's meat, Ralia told herself. I will not eat it because it may be poisoned. For some time, Ralia thought of her home and how sad everybody must be now. She began to weep, but quickly stopped herself. She feared that the old woman might change her mind about her if she wept again. Soon, Ralia fell asleep. She was so tired and too weak to keep awake any longer. When she had slept for a long time, she dreamt that the old woman held a big knife in her hand and was about to cut her throat. She was so afraid that she cried out and jumped up. She was shaking with fear. Ralia looked around the hut and saw the old woman sitting in a corner with another woman. There were 2 big clay plates and a calabash of water between them. Ralia knew that they had just eaten a meal and were now resting. The old woman and her visitor were surprised. They stopped talking and looked at Ralia. They did not know why she shouted in her sleep and jumped up, but they thought that she might have been dreaming. Ralia moved to them. She knelt down in front of them and begged.
Please don't kill me. I'm a good girl. I'll be your servant.
The old woman did not laugh. She was full of pity for the little girl. Don't be afraid, she said. I will give you something to eat now, and then you will sing for us. She began to sing. She sang one song after another. Singing made her happy. At last, she stopped singing and lay down to sleep, but sleep did not come. Ralia lay there quietly with her eyes and ears wide open. There was only a weak light in the hut. The 2 women could not see Ralia's face, but she could see theirs. She did not hear everything the old women said because they spoke softly. Only a few words came to her. The 2 women talked for a long time and Ralia kept her eyes on them. They did not move. Ralia began to feel sleepy, but she tried to keep awake. Then, Ralia saw something which terrified her. While the 2 women were still talking, the visitor brought out a long knife from her bag. The knife was shining, and Ralia knew it must be very sharp. The knife looked like the one in her dream. Ralia believed that the women were going to cut her throat. The visitor looked towards where she lay and smiled. She did not know that Ralia's eyes were open. Then, the old woman said something. Ralia heard only the two words, "Tomorrow morning." "These women are going to kill me tomorrow morning," Ralia told herself. She started to think of what to do and how to escape, but she was only a little girl. She did not know what to do. She just lay there shivering. Soon, the two women lay down to sleep. They put out the lamp and lay down on the mat. Ralia sat up so as to hear if anyone was moving. There was no sound. No one was moving. No one was talking. Soon, the two women were snoring loudly. Ralia did not like this, but what could she do? Ralia lay awake. Sleep did not come. For a long time, she lay there as if she were dead. The two women slept and snored. Ralia thought that dawn must be near. She must escape from this place before the women wake up and cut her throat. She stood up quietly, opened the door very softly, and walked out into the open. She ran. She could not see well, and she fell down many times. Poor little girl. As she ran, she wept. She did not know where she was going. She did not care where she went. She only wanted to be sure that the two women did not catch her. To make things worse for Ralia, the sky became cloudy. A strong wind began to blow. Soon it was raining. The rain was so heavy it almost blinded her. She could not see more than a few feet in front of her. She stopped running and stood still. The rain poured down on her. She stood shivering. She could weep no more because she had already cried too much. She fell to the ground. She had not been sitting for long when she heard a dog barking nearby. The dog was shaking in the bush and coming towards her. It was a hunting dog. What would she do? Even if she ran, the dog would catch her. The dog jumped from the bush. It stood shivering. She could weep no more because she had already cried too much. She fell to the ground. The dog jumped from the bush. It stood still and barked. It barked like water. And Ralia loved it. Then Ralia looked up and saw, through the bush, a hunter pointing a gun at her.
I'm not an animal,
she shouted. The hunter lowered his gun. What are you doing here? Asked the hunter. She was too terrified to speak. He might have shot her dead. The hunter could not understand how a little girl could be in such a place so early in the morning. Still, Ralia did not speak. She sat shivering. The hunter was a kind man. He knew that Ralia needed shelter, food, and warmth, so he did not waste time. He took her hand and pulled her up. Ralia was very weak and cold, but she followed the hunter and his dog. She was happy that she found someone who could save her from the two old women. She knew now that someday she would go back home. This man would take her to her family. So they went. The hunter, the dog, and Ralia. The rain stopped soon. They reached a hut. The hunter knocked on the door, and it was opened by a woman. She was not old, and she was not ugly. The hunter's wife was surprised to see a little girl, so wet and cold. She did not ask any questions. She quickly took off Ralia's wet clothes and dried her body with a piece of cloth. She gave Ralia another cloth to cover herself up. She made Ralia sit by the fireside to get warm. The hunter's wife was very sorry for Ralia. She went to wake up her little daughter, Asba, who was sleeping. When she returned with Asba, she found Ralia laying on the floor. She was so tired that she had fallen down. The hunter and his wife did everything they could to wake Ralia up. At last, she opened her eyes. The first person Ralia saw was a little girl who was holding her hand and looking very unhappy. Ralia did not know where she was. It took her some time to remember that she was in the hunter's house. She sat up and looked at the little girl, who was still holding her hand. "What is your name?" Ralia asked. "Asba," answered the other girl. "My name is Ralia," said Ralia. They liked each other immediately. The hunter and his wife were happy to see this. Ralia and Asba became very good friends. They played together, ate together, slept together, did everything together. Wherever you found one, you found the other. Ralia taught Asba many songs, and they were soon singing together. Every day, after their morning food, the two girls went out to the farm and the bush around. They roamed through the bush getting fruit and nestlings. Asba knew how to set traps. She taught Ralia how to do it too. They also spent some of their time helping Asba's mother. Now that Ralia was strong, the hunter thought that he should take her home to her parents and her dog. Asba did not want Ralia to go if she could not go with her. Back in the village of Apampa, Ralia's mother waited for her daughter's return from the bush. She waited to hear Ralia's voice as she came home singing, but Ralia did not come. She spoke to her husband in agony about her daughter not returning. "Ralia is a good girl. She can look after herself. She will soon be home. Don't you worry, she'll be all right." Then after a few hours, her husband responded, "Now I am afraid too. Ralia will not stay so long in the bush if something had not happened to her," the father said. Then Ralia's mother started to weep. She started to talk to herself. "Ralia, my little girl, so late in the bush. Perhaps she has lost her way. Where is Ralia, my daughter? The only daughter I have. What has happened to her? Ralia, the sugar girl." At first, Ralia's mother wept softly. Later, she wept loudly. Then she went outside and shouted, "People of Apampa village, don't sleep. Sugar girl has not come back from the farm. Help, I'm blind. My husband's back is bad. Our dog is lame and Ralia is lost." The villagers came quickly out of their houses. They listened to the mother's story. The men took their cutlasses, guns, and hunting lamps. They followed the bush path that led to the farm where Ralia had gone. As they went, they shouted Ralia's name. No answer came. All was silent. Soon, they came to the farm. They looked round and saw the bundle of firewood, which Ralia had tied together. They saw her cutlass and the large piece of rag, but they did not see Ralia. They looked around again. Perhaps Ralia had fallen asleep. She was not here. Again and again, the men shouted, "Ralia! Ralia!" At last, they turned and went home. Ralia's mother was still weeping. Her father was biting his fingernails and her dog was barking. When they learned that Ralia had not been found, they were very sad. Ralia's mother cried out. The dog barked louder and her father bit his fingernails deeper. The villagers tried to comfort Ralia's parents. They promised to go again in the morning to look for Sugar Girl. That night, Ralia's parents did not sleep. They did not speak to each other. Wara too did not sleep. She lay in a corner, shaking her tail now and then. Nobody ate that night. The next morning, the villagers, both men and women, went again looking for Ralia. This time, they took their hunting dogs with them. When they got to the farm, they led the dogs to a place where Ralia had been tying the bundle of firewood. They let the dogs go free. Soon, all the dogs went one way. They barked as they went and the villagers followed. After walking for a long time, they came to an open space. In the open space, there was a hut. Its door was open. The dogs ran into the hut barking. As soon as the dogs went into the hut, an old woman ran out. She was afraid. She did not know why these dogs came into her hut or where they came from. As soon as she came out, the old woman saw the men and the women. She stopped. She looked at the people and she was more afraid. She knew many of them. They were from Apampa. 10 years ago, these people had driven her away from Apampa. They had called her a witch, a killer of her husband and children. She did not know what to do. She stood there. The people recognized her. They remembered Ayawa, but this was her name. They remembered all about her. They had thought Ayawa was dead. For 10 years, they had heard nothing about her. All the time the dogs were barking, the villagers knew that Ralia had been in this place. "Ayawa!" shouted one of the men. "What have you done to Ralia? Have you killed her?" Ayawa was very angry.
Why can't you leave me alone, even here in the bush? You drove me away from your village. What do you want from me now? Who is Ralia?
She cried. But you know who Ralia is. She is the little girl whom we call Sugar Girl. Tell us where she is and you will be saved. If you do not tell us or give her to us, you will be killed, said another man.
Ralia was here, but she's not here now,
answered Ayawa.
I don't know where she is. She left this place before I woke up this morning. That's all I know. You can do whatever you like with me. Ralia was here,
said Ayawa.
I don't know where she is.
One of the village women shouted,
Ayawa, we know what you have done to Sugar Girl. You have eaten her. But this is the last time you will kill a child. We are taking you with us to the village. The dogs will eat you up.
Then Ayawa answered,
My dear, you have always hated me because I was pretty and you were ugly. I am now as ugly as you. Why do you still fight me? I'm ready to die. But know this, I did not do Ralia any harm. She was too sweet a girl. She sang like an angel.
Ayawa told the villagers about how Ralia came to stay with her for one night. She told them of her songs and how she had left the hut before dawn. But the villagers did not believe Ayawa. They took her with them to the village. When Ralia's mother learned that her little girl had not been found, she was very unhappy. She wept and wept. She could not eat. She thought Ralia was dead. Ralia's father lay on his back and could not move. He shook his fists and bit his fingernails. Wara crawled and hollered. Ayawa was taken to the village chief. The people told the chief what Ayawa had done. Ayawa said that she did not do Ralia any harm. She told the village chief how she took care of Ralia, but no one believed Ayawa. She was locked up. Every morning, she was brought out and made to sit in the village center, under the big tree. Her hands and feet were tied. The village children went every day to the village center to see Ayawa. They called her names. They called her a witch and a killer of children. They danced round Ayawa and sang.
The eyes of a witch are red. The nails of a witch are sharp. The teeth of a witch are long. Ayawa, you can't kill us. You can't drink our blood, it is bitter. You can't eat our flesh, it is tough. Mother witch, dance for us. Mother witch, fly for us. Mother witch, cry for us.
The children brought leaves and threw them at Ayawa. They threw sand and stone too. Often, they were driven away by people passing by. The village chief told Ayawa to tell him what she had done to Ralia. If she did not tell him, she would be stoned to death after 15 days. Ayawa was very unhappy, but she did not weep. She did not even beg to be set free. She just sat there looking at everybody. She did not speak to anyone, and she did not care whatever people did to her. Day after day, Ayawa sat there under the shades of the tree. Every morning, the village chief asked her what she had done to Ralia.
I didn't know harm,
was the answer. Days passed, and yet no news came about Ralia. Everyone thought that she would never return. Everyone started counting the days. One afternoon, Ralia and Asba wanted to eat some fruit, so they went to the bush. They went a long way until they came to a tree with a lot of fruit on it. Asba could climb a tree, so she went up while Ralia waited below. Asba threw a fruit down. Ralia picked it up and dropped it into a bag. While the girls worked, they sang songs and talked to each other. Ralia, who was in the ground, even danced. They were happy. Suddenly, a horse came galloping around the bend of the path. Ralia was standing on the path, and the horse rider did not see her. When he did see her, it was too late to stop his horse. The horse knocked Ralia down and went over her. The rider quickly stopped the horse. He jumped down from it and ran to Ralia, where she was lying on the ground. She was hurt, and blood was flowing from her mouth. Asba had seen the horse coming, but did not have time to call Ralia. She had seen Ralia knocked down and all the fruit in her bag thrown all over the ground. Asba jumped down from the tree. The rider was kneeling by Ralia. He was trying to lift her, but Ralia looked as if she was dead. Asba was afraid and sad. She held onto the man and started to beat him.
"You have killed Ralia,"
she said as she wept.
"You have killed Ralia. You will not go away. You have killed Ralia."
The young man did not mind what Asba did to him. He was worried about Ralia. The poor girl was breathing very slowly and she did not move. He lifted Ralia up in his arms. He carried her to the horse. Asba followed him crying.
"Where are you taking Ralia? Is she dead? You can't go. I'm going to tell my father. He will fight you and kill you too."
But the man laid Ralia on the horse. He said to Asba, "Come with us. I'm going to look after your friend. She's not dead. She will soon be all right. She would live. Don't cry, little girl. I'm not a wicked man. It was an accident." But Asba ran into the bush crying,
"Don't touch me, killer. You're going to kill me too. I'm going to tell my father. He will fight you."
She shouted.
"I'm going to tell my father. He will fight you."
She shouted. The young man got on his horse and rode away. He was very sorry for the two little girls. He was more sorry for Ralia that she was hurt. The young man rode slowly. He watched Ralia's face, but Ralia did not seem to be getting any better. Asba had run home to her parents. When she was near the hut, she shouted,
"Papa! Mama! Come out! A horse has killed Ralia! The rider has run away!"
Her father was away from the hut. He was working on his farm. Only her mother was at home and she was grinding cassava. Immediately she heard her daughter shout. She knew something was wrong. She ran out of the hut. She saw her daughter running, shouting and weeping. She heard what she was saying and she cried out too. "Who has done this? Where has he gone?" she asked. Asba was out of breath and could not say much. Her mother did not go back into the hut. She did not even shut the door. She held Asba by the hand. "Show me the way," she said. She followed Asba to the place of the accident, but there was nothing to see. The rider, his horse, and Ralia had gone. There was no one to tell where they had gone. So Asba and her mother returned to the hut. Asba stayed in the hut while her mother went to fetch her father. He was busy planting yams. "Ralia has been knocked down by a horse and killed. The rider has taken her away, and we do not know where they have gone." The mother cried as she ran towards him. "This is very sad, said the father. "This is bad news for Ralia's parents. I was hoping to take Ralia home to them tomorrow. Let us go home." They went home. Asba was still weeping. She told them about the horse and the man who rode on it. "I think I know who he is and where to find him," said her father. "It is Sahib, the good prince. I have seen him coming this way on his horse sometimes. He must have taken Ralia to the town. Have no fear, Asba. He is kind and he will look after Ralia well." When Prince Sahib rode into town, he was very unhappy. He did not even answer the people who greeted him. He just asked his servants to carry the girl into his house. They obeyed and asked no questions. They saw that the little girl was hurt and that Prince Sahib was sad. Sahib called for some cold water. He threw the water on Ralia's face. He bathed Ralia's head. He rubbed her feet and hands. He rubbed her chest with some sweet-smelling oil. He rubbed her face with the same oil. He did not allow anybody to come near her. Soon, Ralia sneezed. She moved one arm and then the other. She moved her legs and opened her eyes. She looked around. The thing she saw looked strange.
"Where am I?"
she asked. "Lie down and keep quiet," answered the prince.
"Where is Asba? Where are my fruits?"
Ralia asked. "Asba will soon be here. She is on her way here," answered the prince. He knew that Asba would tell her father about him and her father would come.
"How did I get to this strange place? Whose house is this? I have never seen a place like this before. What am I doing here?"
Ralia kept asking questions.
"My head is aching. The back of my neck hurts. What is happening to me? I feel thirsty too. Please give me some water to drink. How did I get into this strange place? Whose house is this? I have never seen a place like this before. Please give me some water.
My dear little girl, you have to lie down quietly. Do not worry. You are quite safe and you are among friends, he said.
Sahib called a servant to look after Ralia. The servant helped her wash. Then she laid Ralia down on the bed to rest. The room was clean and bright, and the bed was soft. Ralia was given food. Prince Sahib said,
Eat as much as you like. After that, you can lie down like a good girl and sleep.
Soon, Ralia was sleeping. She had happy dreams. It was a long time before Ralia woke up. It was already dark. She moved her legs. She opened her eyes. There was a lamp in the room. Then she rubbed her eyes with one hand. Someone was holding her other hand. Sitting on the bed was Asba, looking sad and holding her hand. For a short time, Ralia thought she was still dreaming.
Asba, is it really you?
She cried out.
Yes, it is I,
said Asba. Ralia sat up quickly. She threw her arms around Asba.
I am happy you have come. The prince said that you will soon come,
cried Ralia.
Are you all right? Ralia, are you really?
Asba asked.
Yes, I am. I am well again. Nothing very bad happened to me. I only had a cut in my mouth, and it does not even hurt me,
Ralia answered. Both of them laughed, wept, and laughed again. They were happy. When Ralia looked up, she saw Asba's father smiling at them. Prince Sahib was there too, watching the two little girls.
How happy these little ones are,
he said to Asba's father. Asba's father turned to the prince. I thank you for what you have done for Ralia. I have heard that you are a kind prince. Now I know it, he said.
Are you the father of these two little girls?
Ralia is not my daughter. Only Asba is, answered Asba's father. He then told Prince Sahib Ralia's story.
Then she must be taken to her parents at once, the prince said. I shall take her myself in the morning.
That is very kind of you. Now I can go home. Ralia is safe with you, said Asba's father.
Can you not stay for the night? Asked the prince. It is dark already.
Oh no, it is never too dark for a hunter. I have my gun with me, answered Asba's father.
Please, will you leave Asba with Ralia? Asked the prince.
Asba's father agreed to this. He said good night to the little girls. Ralia was very happy because Asba could stay with her. The two little girls sang many songs for the prince. Some made the prince laugh, others almost made him cry.
Now, Ralia, tell me what you want and I will do it for you, said the prince.
I want to go home. I want to go to my mother, to my father, and to my dog, she said.
Don't you like this place? Asked the prince.
But this is not my home. It is a beautiful place and you have a lot of things. Still, it's not my home, she answered.
In that case, I will take you home tomorrow, the prince said.
I want to go home. I want to go to mother, to my father, and to my dog, she said.
That night, Ralia did not sleep. She was thinking of home. Soon, she would be home with her parents and Wara. Everybody would be happy again. At last, it was morning. Ralia quickly dressed herself up. Asba did the same. The prince came.
Come along, girls.
We are going, he said. The girls jumped up.
Are you sure you know the way to my village?
Asked Ralia.
I know it. I've been told. We shall be there in 3 hours' time,
the prince answered. The girls talked to each other and the prince as they went out and were put on the horse. The prince sat behind them. As they went along, they sang songs. At last, they got to a pampa. It was midday. The men and women had gone to their farm. Only little children and very old men and women were in the village. As the horse trotted into the village, dogs began to bark. Little children came out shouting,
Horseman! Osman! Osman! Osman!
They were jumping up and down as they followed the horse. The old people also came to the doors and looked out.
Osman! Osman!
They were jumping up and down. No one recognized Ralia and the horse, for no one thought she would come back. They all thought that she was dead. In the village center, Ayawa was sitting in the shade of the tree. The horse did not pass through the village center, and so Ralia did not see her. The prince jumped down from the horse and helped the two little girls down. The little children who followed the horse saw Ralia the sugar girl. They shouted,
Ralia! Ralia! Sugar girl!
They shouted, singing and dancing. They clapped their hands. Waratu was jumping at Ralia and barking. Ralia's mother heard the noise. She came out because she was blind. She could not see Ralia. But Ralia ran and put her arms around her mother's neck.
Mama, it is me, Ralia. Your daughter is back home,
she cried. Ralia and her mother were very happy. They both wept, not because they were sad, but because their happiness was too much for them.
Where is Papa?
Ralia asked. She ran into the hut to meet with her father. He was sitting up. He held Ralia and brought her down to sit on his knee. He looked at her face. He looked at her all over. He was very happy. The news of Ralia's return traveled very quickly through the village. The villagers came. Even those who were at their farms heard and came. A large crowd gathered in front of Ralia's home. Everybody was happy, and everybody wanted to touch Sugar Girl. All the people wanted to hear her story. They all wanted to greet her new friends. Her mother and father thanked the prince and Asba. The villagers brought presents to Ralia and to her friends. The whole village was happy, but happiest of all was Ralia. Her mother, her father, and her dog as well, Wara. When the villagers heard Ralia's story, they ran to the village center where Ayawa sat tied. Ralia's father thanked Ayawa. He said that if she had not taken the little girl into her hut, Ralia might have been killed by wild animals. The prince took Ayawa away on his horse. He gave her a hut near the town. He gave her everything she needed. So once again, Ayawa was free from the village of Apampa. Asba stayed for some days with Ralia and her parents. Then she returned to her own home. But often, Ralia would visit Asba, and Asba would visit Ralia. The girls would play together and work together, but best of all, they would sing their songs together.